बेसिक्स विचारलं का मॅथमॅटिक्स मी विचारलं तेव्हा काय म्हणतो
Good afternoon, everybody. Since people are still joining, we will wait for a couple more minutes and then start. Okay, let us start. This is Shumak Rajagiri, and we welcome everybody to this tribute to our most beloved Sarah Ponrathnam, who passed away last week. We are deeply, deeply bereaved. Here we have with us members of her family. Her husband, Dr. Surendra Ponrathnam, is here, along with her sons, Timothy and Titus, and we also have a lot of her colleagues in IUCAA and also friends from neighboring institutions. She's left behind utterly shocked numerous friends and fond colleagues and admirers. Sarah spent almost her entire working life here in IUCAA. She did her a BSc in chemistry after growing up in southern Tamil Nadu in the Madurai district, where she was born in 1957. She did a BSc in chemistry, but she was quite a sports person growing up in school. She often talked about her basketball career in school and college. And then she got married to Dr. Surendra and then moved to Massachusetts, where her husband was a postdoc at what was then the University of Lowell, later became UMass Lowell, where she joined a master's degree in computer science. And of course, became what we know her as a very, very able computer scientist, computer engineer. And after coming back in 1983 to India, she first had small stints of work in NCL and then in the university, Pune University, zoology department, before our then head of computers center, Professor Ajit Kembavi, got her to here to work as a project employee in various tasks. You'll hear about that. Sarah joined IUCAA in 1998 as a permanent employee and soon rose to become our head of the entire IT activities in IUCAA, a post she held very ably for a very long time. She's quite responsible for an amazing computing infrastructure we have here in IUCAA. A lot of it is a tribute to Sarah's wonderful skills of not just assembling hardware, but also dealing with people, with the team, building the team that runs our institute's heart, the computer center, so ably. Sarah later got involved in the LIGO program, building a high-performance computing center for them. And you'll hear about that as well. Became an active member of the LIGO science collaboration, and her name adorns a lot of very important papers as an author in some of the LIGO team publications. Sarah passed away very suddenly for all of us last week, and here we are to remember her as we knew her as a colleague and friend and neighbor. She lived in the IUCAA colony for over a decade and was a very, very important, active and always smiling member of our residents here in IUCAA. I will pass you on to Dr. Shranjit Mitra, who's organized today's program. He will act as host and lead you through the tributes that are to come. Shranjit, over to you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. We are all really shocked to hear Sarah's untimely demise. Here we would share our bits of memories of Sarah which will be to pay tribute to her. I will first invite Professor Ajit Kembavi, with whom Sarah worked for years, and when she joined IUCAA, he was the head of computing, and then he was our previous director of IUCAA. Ajit, over to you. Ajit, are you there? Yeah, I think we can see your video.
Yeah, now I'm finally unmuted.
Yeah.
So, I'm really very saddened to have to speak on an occasion like this, which I never really expected to do. I first heard about Sarah's illness when on 25th of March, I was on my way from Haridwar to Roorkee, and I got a call from Sanjit saying that Sarah is desperately ill. I had not seen Sarah through the pandemic. She was very careful. We were very careful, but I was in touch with her. And I forgot to call her during the last Christmas, so I phoned her in January and we had a chat, but she never told me that she was not well. But like her husband Surendra said, it was a vertical fall and she left us suddenly a few days ago. So I have known Sarah for very many years. I was introduced to her by my wife Asha, and who told me she was at that time working in the bioinformatics center at the University of Pune. And she said that, look, I've got this colleague called Sarah, who is extremely skilled, very dedicated, extremely practical, and she'll be very good for you in the computer center. But I should warn you, she has a fiery temper and can occasionally get difficult to handle. So I said that, all right, we are used to such people. And then Sarah came along and those days and developed a Pulsar database. So that was the beginning. And quite soon, Sarah, I believe, joined the computer center. And at that time, Anita Kane was in charge of it. And we all worked together, developing it in bits and pieces. And Sarah, when Anita left, I believe in 1997, Sarah became in charge of the computer center. So when we started, we just had a couple of PCs. And then we got our first Sun computer, of which we were extremely proud. By the time Sarah came, there were a fair number of machines in the computer center. But then she took them from that stage to a point where when I left, there were a couple of HPCs in the computer center. And apart from simply growing the numbers, the most wonderful architecture. We're always very proud at the efficient way in which the computer center worked. And then not only that, there are many firsts to our credit, which for which Anita was responsible in the beginning, but then after Sarah took over, Sarah and her young team who were all very attached to her. So, for example, very, very few people know that the very first web page in India was the IUCAA web page. So we put it on, and immediately we got a message from somebody abroad saying that, look, at last India is on the web. And more for us, but it's been completely forgotten. So Sarah worked in many different ways, and I've seen her so often running to the computer center late in the evening to attend to emergencies. She was always available, always warm and friendly. Once in a way, of course, somebody got hit by her, and then it did not matter who it was who had angered her. All were equal before her. So, for example, so two most noteworthy cases that I've known. One is that the recently retired president of the Astronomical Society of India, okay, and a professor from Egypt, okay, so who did something to annoy Sarah and really had to face her wrath. But it was my job then to smooth it all over. But next morning, of course, Sarah would be extremely warm and extremely friendly. I was just seeing before the talk that in a small puja room that we have, I have three most wonderful pictures. One of Saraswati by Raja Ravi Verma, and the other one, a beautiful, I think, a picture of Ganesh, and the third one of Venkateshwar. All three were given to us by Sarah during Dasra and Diwali and many such functions that she came to our place for. So she had many different sides to her. Now she's gone, and it's very difficult for me to believe that she's no longer with us. So this afternoon, I was talking to people from a neighboring institute who wanted some consultancy on their computer systems. And I mentioned people from a computer center. We're also going to say that Sarah is, of course, no longer here, but you can always talk to her on the phone as required. then I realized that it is no longer possible. We had problems, we can no longer do so, and we just have to learn to live with it. So my heartfelt condolences to her husband Surendra, whom we have known for a very long time, and who has in fact been our advisor on things, and her sons, Timothy and Titus. I've seen them as young boys, and now they are both research professionals working in the US. So my heartfelt condolences to all of them, and to the people in IUCAA, to staff in the computer center, who will miss her so much. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Ajit. Next, we would hear from Professor Dipankar Bhattacharya. Sarah, after Ajit, he became the head of computing, and Sarah worked with her again for several years. Dipankar, if you can you, okay, let me see if I can unmute it.
Yeah. Thank you, Sanjit. Yeah, I was not able to unmute myself until now. Yes, so this is such a shocking and unbelievable news. It's very difficult to come to terms with this. That no one could imagine that Sarah would leave us so soon. So you have heard from Ajit the early part of Sarah's coming to IUCAA and how she built up the computer center. And it was already in pretty good and well-run shape when I inherited it from Ajit. And Sarah was the focal person in all aspects of the computing facilities, including network, systems, user interaction, providing day-to-day service both to the faculty as well as visitors who come. And in fact, if you look at the size of computer operations in IUCAA, it is, given the size of our institute as we see it visibly, it is actually much, much larger, because it caters to not just the resident IUCAA population, but all associates, visitors, as well as many others who use the systems remotely. And it is no, no mean task to keep everything well-oiled and well-serviced all the time. And Sarah, with the hand-picked teams that she built, has been able to do that through this entire period. And I think that's a remarkable achievement. In addition, during the time that I was in charge of the computer center, one major thing that happened was the construction of the new data center, which was a very big enterprise. And Sarah, of course, handled all the day-to-day activities which were required to get the data center built. And the data center, that data center which was built and delivered to us 10 years ago, is still serving us very well, and it still has spare capacity to host further expansion of IUCAA computing. And once that data center was built, which we started with one high-performance computing machine in there, but it made us very easy to expand into major LIGO facilities and so on, which were later on introduced into that data center. And Sarah was involved in all aspects of it, including interaction with all the vendors. Initially, the design aspects, which we had consultants, but Sarah interacted with them at every little step, and making sure the execution was to the best possible, was done in the best possible manner. And Sarah was very passionate about all these things, not just the data center, but all aspects of computer center, all services. She had a vision as to how this should be run, and she would do her utmost to make sure it is run that way. And she will expect that everyone, both her staff as well as others who are associated with the computer center, will keep to that standard. If not, then you would hear something from her. So that's the way she has been. But she has been known to be angry sometimes. But it is all completely for the benefit of the institute, that she her goal was always to get the best for the institute. So that's how I remember her. And she had trained and built this team very, very well, so that when she left the computer center, the handover was smooth, and the team was able to take over the operations and services without any hitch, and it has been it is continuing to run as smoothly as ever, even during her absence at the helm of the computer center. Of course, she became a consultant for the LIGO computing, and in that capacity, she also contributed a lot, which Sanjit himself will be able to elaborate on. But we do indeed miss her very much, and we hope and pray that her soul rests in peace, and our sincere condolences to Surendra and her family. Once she left the campus, we missed the regular supply of jackfruit and plum cake, which you would get from her every Christmas. And we do miss her very much also as a neighbor. So that's all, and thank you all.
Thanks, Dipankar, for sharing your memories. As you heard from Dipankar, managing a computer center like this requires significant interaction with administrative staff, and that is quite a big thing. And there are different kinds of interactions that happen to make a computer center running properly. So we would hear from our senior administrative officer, Mr. Abhankar. Mr. Abhankar, if you can unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate event for all of us, and I was deeply shocked to hear her untimely demise on 29th of March. I have known Mrs. Sarah since August '94, when she joined on Earnet India project. After that, she joined IUCAA in the year 1998 as a system manager. She was working as a consultant on the LIGO project immediately after the retirement. And during her service, she has rendered sincere and dedicated services which nobody will forget. My sincere condolences to Sarah's family members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abhankar.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we would hear from Anita Kane, who was Sarah's, I think, very close supervisor when she just joined IUCAA. And again, they have worked for a long time to shape IUCAA's computing in those days. And she is here. I will try to unmute her.
Uh, well, you know, it's today so unbelievable. Let me tell you, Sarah's whole face and her whole picture comes in front of me. So it's impossible to believe that she's no longer with us. And well, so I'm sure it's been a big shock for the family too. So I had an opportunity to mentor Sarah during the 90s when I was the systems manager at IUCAA. So Sarah joined us for the EarNet project. That time, you know, IUCAA was a node of EarNet. So we were giving connections to other academic institutes and Sarah was handling all that. So I remember her as a, you know, a strong, well-built girl. She looked the same when I met her, you know, about a year ago. When I bumped into her, I was part of the Pune. I'm now part of the Pune Knowledge Cluster. So I visited IUCAA, and that's when I met her. She looked almost the same, except for a few gray hair and a new hairstyle, like the short hair. So yeah, so that was my last interaction with her, and she was telling very enthusiastically the same energy level that she had 30 years back about, you know, the LIGO project and what she's doing as a consultant and things like that. So of course, you know, Sarah was very sincere in her work, very forthright and outspoken. So I will just narrate a small thing, a small incident which I remember. So we were a small team. Sarah was handling EarNet. All the Unix systems and the network administration was being handled by Vidyulata Mahabar. And there was another young team for the data center. So we were a small team running the computer center. And towards the end of 1997, when I decided to move on to the corporate world, so I mean, Sarah and Vidyulata were a little bit perturbed as to how the whole thing will now come on us, what to do, etc. So, you know, in my mind, I was pretty sure that Sarah can scale up. So I sort of gave her the confidence. I told her, look at it as an opportunity. You can do it. You have all the ability. Vidyulata is there to support you and you will scale up quickly. So come forward, take the challenge. This is your opportunity to grow. And, you know, she, of course, she did very well. So this was a small thing I just wanted to narrate. Well, nothing more to add. Wishing eternal peace to the departed soul and heartfelt condolences to the family.
Thanks, Anita, for sharing your thoughts. You mentioned Vidyulata's name, whom we know as Anu Mahabar.
Yes.
And you know that she is in California and it is 4 a.m. there, but she is online and she is attending this meeting right now. But she has already sent us a audio recording. I'm just going to play that right now. Okay, let me try that. Let's see if you can hear it.
Many of you may not know me. My name is Anu Mahabar. I used to work at IUCAA in the computer center from 1993 to 1998. When I joined IUCAA, I was young and naive and newly married and new to the city. IUCAA was our family then. Sarah joined shortly after that. I remember meeting Sarah and I am still struck by her energy, straightforward and enthusiastic outlook towards life. Every day she would come punctually, and that too immaculately dressed. She always looked in a mode ready to take on the world. I can still picture her that way in front of my eyes. For me, Sarah represented a perfect independent woman, easily taking care of office work, of her family, and of herself. At work, we faced many challenges, but I do not remember her feeling stuck at any point. We did not spend much time together after I left IUCAA, but we kept meeting each other briefly when I visited IUCAA or when she came to Caltech a few times. She continued to be open in her approach throughout, and we exchanged many emails about our setup here at Caltech. I have a memory of Sarah very dear to my heart from when I was pregnant with my child. Ashish and I lived in Nalanda then without access to our own kitchen. And I might have mentioned this to Sarah, saying, I feel hungry, but cannot really cook. After that, Sarah brought fresh homemade idlis for me on many mornings. As you grow older, your circle of friends and colleagues widens. But when you are just starting out, those who make you comfortable by their sheer energy have a special place in your life. For me, Sarah was one such person. I'm still in disbelief that Sarah is not in this world. Miss you, Sarah.
Many of you have probably seen the angry side of Sarah, and these are the parts which many of you have missed. So I will invite another colleague who worked with Sarah for a very long time from the initial days. That is Snehalata Shankar. She is here. Let's see, Lata, what do you?
Yeah, it was such a shock when I came to know about the seriousness of Sarah's illness. She told me in February that she was much better, and in a month's time, everything is over. She was so careful about her health and fitness, so vibrant and full of life and energy. And she was always ready to fight for what is right, not only for herself, but for others too. One could always be sure to get a frank opinion from her. May not always be what one wants to hear. We had so many tea time sessions where she used to bring green tea in her flask and share with me. I will miss talking to her, hearing her laughter and strong views in politics and whatnot. She was so proud of her computer center and data center, and she took me around that when I went to IUCAA once. Be at peace, Sarah, wherever you are, and shine bright. My thoughts and prayers are with Surendra and the children.
Thanks, Lata. We are all shocked and really bereaved with this, what happened in this 2 weeks period. Could not believe that this. Okay, coming to the more recent times, after retirement, Sarah worked as a consultant for LIGO India and made enormous contributions, which would remain useful for years. So I would like to invite Professor Sukanta Bose, who is the LIGO India coordinator from IUCAA. Sukanta, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Indeed, it's an unimaginable loss to me and to the LIGO India family, not only in IUCAA, but the world over. My sincere condolences to Dr. Ponrathnam, Sarah's 2 sons and her other family members for this terrible loss. I happened to have met Sarah actually in the late 90s, soon after I joined as a postdoc of IUCAA in 1996. I, of course, met her sometime thereafter, perhaps in 1997. And she readily came across as a very dynamic but approachable person. She indeed would have opinions, often well considered and thought through, but it was, for me, very easy to converse with her. More recently, as Sanjit mentioned, I would say I got the opportunity to work with a person like Sarah very directly on the LIGO India project. That was since 2013. And the remarkable thing is, I really don't recall her ever saying no to any challenge I threw at her. Of course, most of my work will be related to high performance computing, sysadmin issues, the data center. But you see, people like Sarah also allowed us to imagine the kind of challenges we can take up in this country. And nothing short of what's happening in some of the best labs across the world. And she held herself to very high standards. And I think we are seeing glimpses of this in the various narratives we have seen today, heard today. And it was fair for her to also hold others to the same standards. But she was a team person. She did make sure at the end of every conversation that the team was with her and she was with the team. Indeed, to pull off a project like LIGO India, and then there are quite a few such that India is engaged in and is dreaming of more in the coming years. We need more Saras. I think that just goes without saying. That's one of the challenges I was facing as a group leader for human resource development in IUCAA. But it's a good challenge to have. But people like Sara actually allowed us to dream that dream, because we seeing people like her, we knew that, okay, it's possible. And we hope we succeed in grooming more such people. But she has provided us that template, and I'm ever so thankful to her. So I do miss her, but often I think she's really next to me. I can often imagine myself conversing with her on some of these tricky issues. We are actually going to compose an obituary about Sara for the LIGO scientific collaboration, this international collaboration. And my wish there is that we as a team, of course, foremost will pay our respect to Sara, but also to spread the word about her legacy. And this is because I think it's a very inspirational legacy for many of us so-called seniors, but certainly also for juniors and the current generation, who will be at the helm of operating these world-class detectors and observatories tomorrow in India. And for that reason, I should not forget to salute her beloved people, her family, her well-wishers, everybody who supported and helped Sara being Sara. Once again, my condolences to Dr. Ponrathnam and Sara's family. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Thanks, Sukanta. So Sara's contribution extends from IUCAA to LIGO India to LIGO International LIGO Collaboration and so on. But then there are different places in India where Sara made her contributions to set up computing facilities and groups. Several of our associates consulted Sara for setting up their computing facilities in their own institutes. So to hear more about it, I would invite Sajid Philip, who is from Kerala. So he is one of our associates, long-term associates, and he's here. Sajid?
Hello?
We can hear you, Sajid.
Okay, thank you. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, we can see the slide also.
Okay. This is a 23-year-old picture showing the participants of a mini workshop on computer astronomy that was held at Charlemont in 1999. Though it was not purposefully done, the center seat was given to Sara in the photograph, was genuinely recognizing her as a hero in the minds of all who participated. She, along with Yogesh Vardekar, came a couple of days prior to the workshop to set up about half a dozen computers for hands-on sessions and demonstrations at the workshop. They were personal computers. To put you in its proper perspective, here is an extract from the computing facility that IUCAA had to boast about at that time. This came in the Khagol that was published at the same time. It speaks of excellent computing facility with 1 GB RAM and 31 GB of hard disk space. Today, even our handheld phones have over 4 GB of RAM and a few hundred gigabytes of data storage. Google gives 15 GB of free space for every Gmail account it creates. You can read more about the workshop and what impact it had on the colleges, and universities across the state of Kerala in 1999 issue of Khagol that is available online. Sara was not at all an easy person to deal with, I must admit, as everybody would do. She had strong convictions that sometimes caused communication barriers. But she was very good at heart. She had a loud, commanding voice that sometimes I had to run away from her simply to avoid a conflict from our differences in opinion. But still, I must say that she was one of the best personalities that I have come across in my life. Whatever be the issue, she would always be available with both her hands and all her heart when you are helpless. I can recollect several incidents in my life where she played the role of a good friend at the right time in the right way. And this is what brings tears to my eyes, at the loss of a genuine friend so unexpectedly and early in life. She always wanted to go back to her village in Tamil Nadu and build a house and live there happily. We had long times of private talks where her talks were always revolved around her two sons, Titus and Timothy, and their education and everything else. I do not have words to express how much I personally am indebted to her. She was such a good friend, very close to my heart. It would be very inappropriate on my part, having mentioned the computing facility IUCAA had 25 years ago, to go without mentioning the kind of computing facility IUCAA built up by the time Sarah retired officially from her service. It is often forgotten that every celebrity had an infancy, a day when he or she, just like every newborn, were naked and crying. Though we tend to forget it, it is the same with institutions as well. I have no hesitation to say that she loved and took care of the computing facility at IUCAA with the fondness and pride of a mother from the time of infancy to its celebrity. She boasted and was proud of every development achievement her child had. The computer center had. I do not want to say more. I deeply mourn at the loss of a good lady, a true friend, and an admirable character. She was different, peculiar, and yet very loving and caring. Sarah, though you are not with us, your memories will be cherished all through our life. Goodbye, my friend. Rest in peace. Thank you.
Thanks, Sajid, for sharing your thoughts. Another person who has worked with Sarah from different parts of India is Professor Anand Sengupta, who is right now in IIT Gandhinagar. He started working with Sarah as a student at IUCAA and then also as a faculty member from Delhi University. Anand?
Hello, hi, am I audible?
Yeah.
So first I'd like to say that I'm deeply saddened to speak on such an occasion. It's very hard to come to terms with the fact that Sarah is no more. I came to know about her illness from Shonjit, and it was shocking then, but completely shocked to hear about her demise in a matter of a few days. And so I'd like to remember Sarah through a few, memories that I would like to share with you. So Sarah was my friend, and I also remember her as a teacher. I came to know her right from my first day of joining IUCAA as a graduate student, when I went to her cabin with a request for user ID. And I can still almost visualize her seated in her cabin, which used to be in that corner of the computer center. Over the years, we became good friends. I remember her as one of the most helpful persons who genuinely cared for our well-being. And she would often ask me about how far I have come in my PhD. And there was a time in the middle when I was having second thoughts about continuing my research career. And she would hear patiently and often offered little advice about keeping my head down and work really hard. So I really remember that. And I'm thankful to her for that. There was a time when Tirthankar Roy Chaudhary, who was my senior at IUCAA, and myself, we started a hobby, a Beowulf cluster at IUCAA, with inputs from Sajid at different points. And this was about 20 years ago. And Sarah, we found Sarah to be, very excited and very enthusiastic about this project. Admittedly, we knew very little about networking and switches then and even now, but Sarah not only taught us networking protocols, but spent hours after work to configure various parts of that cluster, and she even named them. There were two of them. The smaller one she called Chote Mia, and the slightly bigger one she called Bade Mia, based on a popular movie that was, at that time. She would scold us for having too many parties, but at the same time rejoice when our student papers got published. So I remember the computer center was a very happening and a happy place under her very strict watch. So even after I graduated from IUCAA, we kept in touch over social media, mainly Facebook. She was an avid gardener and used to post lovely pictures from her vegetable patch. She would ask how Sudakshina, my wife, and I were doing. She would enthusiastically share news of the development of the IUCAA Computer Center and the bigger cluster that was coming up. So when I joined Delhi University in 2010, she visited Seshadri and myself and offered words of advice like she had always done before. So I remember Sarah as a very true and genuine friend and a fine colleague. It is hard to come to terms with the fact that she's no more. So for me personally, she leaves behind this huge Sarah-shaped void in my universe, and she will be forever in my heart. I offer my heartfelt condolences to Dr. Surendra and her two children. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Many of us actually worked with Sarah for a long time, since our student days. I'll share those later. So right now, I will invite another person with whom Sarah worked for a long time from Pune. He is Goldie Mishra from IICAA Pune. Goldie?
Yeah, thanks, Sanjay. So I have known Sarah since 2001, right from my CDAC days. IUCAA was and continues to be known and very well known in technology as well as the science circles. Sarah used to definitely play a very important role and a part in the IT technology portion of the ever-growing success of IUCAA. We used to be in touch over numerous technical topics, and her hardcore IUCAA-centered approach reflected every time she discussed anything. She was all for how can it benefit IUCAA. Professionally, she was always up to date, ever willing to learn and adopt techniques useful for IUCAA. Lately, her professional focus was largely the IT portion of LIGO and its national implementation. She was very much concerned and very eager to see LIGO unfold, specifically on the detector portion and the data centers, as well as the computational aspects. As an individual, she was very, very straightforward, intelligent, hardworking, sincere, honest, and punctual. So all I can say is I pray to God that her soul rest in peace, and may God give strength to her family to bear the huge loss. Thanks, Sanjay.
Thanks, Goldie. So we have heard quite a bit from colleagues from different institutions. Now let's come back to IUCAA. And I would invite Mr. Yogesh Thackeray, with whom Sarah has worked again for several years at IUCAA, and who is right now at Sarah's position here. Yogesh? Yogesh, you have to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I closely worked with Sarah ma'am for more than 15 years. She was having very dashing personality. She was a very talkative, straightforward, but equally very emotional also. She was a computer center in charge and was treating computer center team, entire team members like her kids, and always guide us, motivate us for our growth. After retirement also, she was guiding us for the betterment of a computer center. She was always like to implement latest new technologies. For that, she used to take us for the technology workshops, and if found anything useful to IUCAA, then she used to tell me that, okay, we need to implement this. And then within a few days, with full energy, it will be explored and implemented. She was very expert in sysadmin domain, but at the same time, she was enjoying her hobbies also, like gardening and painting. I remember just backside of the IUCAA, there is the government nursery is there. She used to go, for buying the plants. At that time, she was directly interacting with the gardeners, discussing them with them for a lot of how the planting, fertilizers, a lot of details she used to collect and discuss in Tutti Putti Marathi and Hindi. I was always there for translating to English, but she was able to manage, and she was trying to manage on her own. We all will miss her and her support also. I pray for giving strength to her family and rest her soul in peace. Yeah, thank you, Sanjit.
Thank you, Yogesh.
Yeah.
We have heard from many of Sarah's colleagues from IUCAA and different other institutions. Before we go to the family members, I would like to check if any other colleague at IUCAA would like to say something. After that, I will share my own memories, and then I will pass on to the family members. Anyone at IUCAA who would like to speak? Now, please use your Zoom hand, raise your Zoom hand, so that we can then invite you to speak. I know several colleagues wanted to say things, and okay, Sianand, let me unmute you. Anand?
Yeah, can you hear me, Sanjit?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's indeed very shocking news for us. I knew Sarah starting from 93, even 94 onwards. I think my first visit to their house was because I think some of us were cribbing the canteen food is not good, as always we do. And Sarah invited us to their NCL house. And they were staying not just opposite to the department, so the housing colony. I still remember, this is in 1994. And for some reason, she used to like me a lot. And I have no hesitancy in saying that I am not very well versed in computers, and also I'm so focused in doing things. Sometimes I don't even realize some of the machines I'm using is very old. And I can tell it now, till Sarah retired, I never have to go to anybody who is computer in charge, request for what I need. Sarah will come and tell me that your machine is old, you take this. And you will be surprised, I had several Indo-French programs, And they used to tell that you should also ask for some contingency money, in the sense that you have to buy something. I usually don't know what to buy. All my 3 projects, the computing part was filled by Sarah. I used to go and give her and say, whatever IUCAA needs at this time, up to some lakhs, 10 lakhs. Those days it was a big money. Now 10 lakhs is nothing. And I remember all our projects, Sarah used to fill, and this equipment will go in IUCAA's name. In compensation, she will get me some laptops and all. Those days, you are not given laptops to faculty members. This was the arrangement Sarah has made. But more than a professional thing, Sarah was our neighbor for quite some time. And I think the family, we treat them like our real family members, because for my mother, who is staying away from Tamil Nadu, their family was one of them with whom she was able to interact, in addition to Gayatri and others. So my mother and my wife and all really shocked to hear this news, and we are yet recovering. It was shocking that one day before we were going on a walk, and suddenly we found one person who resembled like Sarah. Then my wife said that for some time we have not seen Sarah in the campus at all. What happened? That evening I got a message from Kandu. It was really shocking to hear that she's unwell. I sincerely feel the family, God gives, they believe in God. So I believe that God should give them enough strength to recover from such a loss. If people like us are feeling that way, I can imagine the feeling the family will go through. But in the true spirit of how Sarah is, I think the family will also come out of this in flying colors, because I think we have to celebrate life. That is her motto. And I sincerely pray that that is the best tribute we can do to her. And people mentioned about her being very tough. And I understand how difficult if you are branded as a toughest person. But this is the same thing people tell about myself also. But I really know that this toughness is nothing to do with the human interactions. This is to do with the professionalism, where one expects people to do their best. And in that sense, I never had any fight with Sarah. You will be surprised. She never shouted at me. In fact, it is other way around. I had hard word with her in certain times because of computing issues, but she has always been very kind to me. I sincerely feel that her soul should rest in peace. The family gets strength to recover from this huge loss. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Anand. I must mention that Kandu and Gayatri are very close to Sarah, but then they could not attend it because they are in California right now. It's pretty late there. But they tried to talk to Sarah when she was fighting her last moments. Okay, next we will hear from Shivaraj Kandasamy, who is again a new, relatively new member at IUCAA, who has worked with Sarah for the last few years. Shivaraj?
Thanks, Sanjit. Yeah, I didn't knew her long, but just a year and a half. But during that time, I think she left a strong impression on me. Since my office was next to hers, we get to see each other in the corridor when coming and going out of the office. Since I was new to the institute, I think during the discussion, she used to give me practical wisdom of IUCAA life, both academic and outside. And those wisdoms are very helpful to me even today. And also during the time, she gave me 2 saplings as a welcome gift, and they are still growing in my house. So whenever I see them, I get to remember her. I think we will all miss her strong, vibrant, at the same time, kind personality. My heartfelt condolences to her family and her friends. Thanks.
I see that VVS from NCRA is here, and he would speak. So I mentioned IUCAA, but that does not mean I really meant IUCAA. Any other colleagues who are here who would like to speak about Sarah, please raise your hand.
Sanjeev has his hand up.
Sanjeev also has hand up. Yeah, first we'll go to VVS, and then I mentioned that because many people might have thought it is only for IUCAA. That is not the case. I mean, you can raise your hand. Yeah. Okay, VVS, wait 1 second. Yeah, please go ahead. VVS, okay, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, VVS here. Also recently, not recently, about last June, I retired from my service from NCRA. Myself and Sarah had many common things, and we have discussed many things also. Both of our institutes, though it is name is different, but we worked like a single institute only. We have attended many seminars together, especially HPC events, and Sarah is well known along with other things, and she is very bold also, very dynamic also. Normally, Sarah's presence is felt with her loud laugh, and she is very cooperative and a very good friend. We used to discuss after retirement. We both will be my in-laws' place also near her place, Tirunelveli. So we thought we will live together. What is required? Only internet is required. We will do something. We will try to train some younger minds in HPC and other things. Those are all the discussions we had. I talked to her about a month back also, 1.5 months back also, but she never mentioned anything about this. It was really shocking news. And we had many common working together, both at NCRA side and IUCAA side. We used to help each other, coordinating each other. I am really sorry to hear this news. I don't have much things to say. Anyway, Sarah is very well known in academic institutes also, and the industries also. In almost in all HPC world, we are known, and Sarah is also very well known. And we'll pray for her soul to rest in peace and give great strength to their family members to bear this such a huge loss. It's loss for every one of us.
Thanks, VVS. I see Sanjeev is back online. I think you got disconnected. Sanjeev, would you like to?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry that this electricity is going on and off in my place. So the internet is being cut off. So that is the problem. I was really shocked when I heard about this, about Sarah. I mean, Sanjeev told me about a day before her demise. And I didn't know at all what was that there was anything wrong at all. I mean, and next day I heard about this her demise, and it was very shocking and really saddening. I mean, what my basic connection professionally was through students of mine who were doing most of the computing. So I was more like a liaison person, talking to her and so on about computing and so on. But most I heard is about her laughter and her general friendliness. And I think she was more a friend than more of a professional thing in my case. And many things I would like to say about her is there are other aspects besides computing. People have dealt a lot with her computing abilities and how she was helpful with computing and all that. But she was very interested in gardening and plants and so on. And so was I. So we used to discuss a lot about plants and sprays and so on. And she said, "No, why are you using these chemicals for spraying things? Use the more organic things to spray plants and so on." So it used to be quite a bit of exchange on many other aspects. The other aspect was also music. So it was basically, she was the one who introduced me to Enoch Daniels, who was a famous accordionist who has played many of the film songs, the old film songs which are there. He has been there. So she actually was, I think, they went to the same church. So she was friendly with him. I mean, she knew him, and she actually put in a word for me to go and talk to him. And Enoch Daniels was my school hero. When I was in school, I used to hear his songs and so on. I mean, on the radio, and there was no TV that time. And so it was a great thing for me for that. So I'm quite grateful to her for in many other respects. I mean, it is these other aspects, gardening, music, and all that, were different aspects of her personality, actually, or her this thing, which I would like to say. And I really miss her that she is no more. I mean, in this thing, and I can't believe it. I mean, it's. I thought she was one of the fittest persons that there was in IUCAA, and this is a very saddening event. So I think I would like to stop here.
Thanks, Sanjeev.
And my condolences to Surendra. Okay.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Next, we go to Asim. Asim?
Yeah, thanks, Sanjit. So people mentioned about Sara's energy, so I thought I would share an anecdote. I have not worked as closely with Sara as some of my colleagues here, but one of my fondest memories of Sara is about Aadhaar card. So around 2016 or so, I was still a relatively young faculty here. And I was not so bothered about getting my Aadhaar card done, etc. But at some point, Sara got it into her head that she needs an Aadhaar card done for her and her family. And then she found out that there are these people who will come and do it for you. You don't have to go to the center, but there needs to be a minimum number of people at your place, something like 10 people. So she sent out an email and she probably didn't get enough response. I also did not respond to it. I was not paying attention. So then she started going and catching people one by one. And she knew that I am like alone here, I've just joined, etc. So she came and asked me, why don't you want an Aadhaar card? It is a good thing and we need only 10 people. So why don't you join us? You need to pay 100 rupees and then these people will do it for you. So she single-handedly, organized everything, got this lady to come and take our photographs and fingerprints and everything. And eventually it turned out that this lady was a fraud. She took 100 rupees from all of us and then stopped responding to the calls. So initially she was still responding saying, yes, ma'am, we will do it in a day or so. And then after that, she stopped responding to calls from Sara at all. And I remember the wrath that people talk about that Sara had for various people, it all rained down on this person because Sara got so mad at her that she complained about this person to the authorities and got her blacklisted as a fraudster. Then she went and found another more legitimate place which will do exactly the same thing. So she got those people to come, got all 10 of us together again, probably a few people more. And eventually we all got our Aadhaar cards. And in fact, if you had gone directly to the center to get Aadhaar cards at the time, you would get these paper copies. Sara made it so that you pay a little bit extra and they will give you these nice hard plastic copies. So I really remember that with great fondness. And I also remember her during, in fact, that time, because she was in front of all these 10 randomly chosen IUCAA people. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. She was asking me, why are you not still married? Why are you still single? So it was a very interesting experience. And I really remember her fondly for this. So I would like to remember her like this. She was very sharp, very straightforward, and also extremely warm. So I hope that some of these memories I have shared will stay with her family as well. And my heartfelt condolences for this loss. Thanks, Sanjit.
Thanks, Asim. Yeah, we will. So these moments are really nice because many of us also got benefited from this from the Aadhaar card. But it is not just the Aadhaar card which is important. What is important is also the process and these moments which we remember. Okay, next we'll hear from Malati, who has also worked with Sara for several years in the recent years, especially for the LIGO India project. Malati?
Yes, sir. Actually, I don't have any words to talk about a ma'am, and I am not that much experienced person also. But I can say I met a ma'am in 2007 at NCL. But at that time, she was asking, why you're sitting at home, then why don't you come and do the job? She only pushed me to work, actually, because I don't have any idea of going for a job and all, sitting at home and enjoying like that person. But ma'am pushed me, why you're sitting alone and getting depression, so you go for a job like that. And she took me here IUCAA in 2007. That was the first my job experience with that. But she was my I can say she was my role model, because I had learned many things from her. I don't know, not even single thing. When I was in a tough time also, she had given me more confidence and supported me. I don't know what I was means how I was attracted her, I don't know. Yeah, she had given me more support, means like my mother, how she will support, the same way she supported me in my life. So I for that I would thankful to throughout my life to ma'am. That is not enough, I think, but um, thank you, sir. I don't have any words.
Okay, thanks, Manasi, for sharing your words. Before going to Manasa, I will just share one of these quotes by Sarah, which kind of describes her views about, how women could make a difference in work. And she was certainly not somebody who needed any special treatment. I mean, perhaps some of her male colleagues would need. And she really fought alone to get things done. And really, I admire her for as one of the most successful women I have ever seen. Okay, I think I will now move to, okay, sorry, I will, Manasa, can you please go ahead?
Thank you, Sanjay. So I've not known Sarah for so many decades, but I had the privilege to share my office with her for the last few years. And for me, when I came in, she was the most warmest person that I had met around. And when I came back, like I was returning back from abroad after 12 years and had no clue how to settle in with kids and everything. And she was one person who actually like got everything done for me even before I could ask. So she had set up my office and everything, like, this is your furniture, I got everything back in and everything. So for me, she is one of the most generous and warm persons I've met. And it's sad that we have to meet at this course. But I was not expecting something like this sort of an event to happen so soon. She was a go-getter, and I always admired her because she's much older to me, and in a more difficult society, she had survived as a working mother, and she used to tell glimpses of her stories and her struggles as a working woman, even back in the days. And I will always remember her as a go-getter and a very warm person. My sincere condolences to the family. I know she was very close to everyone around us. We will definitely miss her. Thank you.
Thanks, Manasa. Before passing on to hearing from the family members, I would just share my own experience with Sarah, and then I will request the family members to share their thoughts. So I have also worked with Sarah for more than 20 years or more. When I started as a student, and then when Anand mentioned that we were working on these initial clusters which IUCAA set up, and then lately for LIGO India we made several trips together. And also for IUCAA high performance computing facilities, we went to different meetings and of different kinds, like with industry, with official meetings, and so on. So one of the things I will share is that, Sarah, it was fun traveling with Sarah, because as usual, she's very much cheerful, and we are always having fun. And then she has a lot of strong opinions, and she's making comments about different things. But then she is extremely alert. That is, in these meetings, there are different people coming with different, let's say, products. In the meetings, there are different proposals are being shown. Sarah is extremely alert, that she is laughing, but then she is catching the right person at the right place. Like this, when this product is going to be available, is it really reliable? Is that guy looks reliable? I mean, will he be able to actually deliver on time? So poking them, you talk to them, you laugh with them, and then you catch them also. And this is really a very nice quality, right? I mean, you are really smooth in your operations, and of course these operations are for the good of the project, for the institute, and for everything. One of the things is I found very important to have interactions with Sarah. Of course, it was really fun. I mean, we used to chat for a long time, frequently, before the lockdown started. Sarah's opinion would be perfectly honest. Whatever she thinks, she is going to tell you. It may be, most of the time they are right. It can also be wrong. Sarah does not care. She makes mistakes, and she will tell you that, okay, it was a mistake. I mean, that was wrong. And then this is right. We had discussions about politics, about people, about life, about food, I mean, different things. And then there is always, it is going to be an interesting discussion. I mean, you can oppose, you can support anything, but then it is going to be really memorable. I mean, we used to talk in my office for a long time here in this chair over there. Okay, I don't know whether you can see it. And then whenever I look at it, I remember, okay, Sarah used to sit there, and we used to have a lot of chats, a lot of discussions about this project. Well, I mean, we have to move on now. The memories are really nice, and that is going to stay with us forever. And that is the biggest treasure we have got. Okay, I don't want to say anything more. I think I will pass on to the family members. I would invite Dr. Surendra Ponrathnam, who is here online, and Sarah's son. I can see Titus. I see, I think I saw a team also here. If they would like to share their thoughts. Yeah, Surendra, can I unmute you?
Yeah, sorry, there's some echo. So, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
I think it was fine. I mean, you can just try to speak again.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having this meeting. I think we feel really touched. I would very much say that, as you say, that IUCAA benefited a lot from Sarah. I would say just the other way around. I think IUCAA was responsible for Sarah to have become the person she was. Till then, she had quite a few knocks, but once IUCAA came in, her personality completely changed. And I think, as you say, she was more than confident about everything. And she was always forthright, even at home, very honest, sincere. So we are appreciative of all the efforts and help IUCAA and its members have given us, the strength they've given us, and that will carry us forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to mention that they have spent several years on the campus. Dr. Surendra Ponrathnam, Titus, and team, they were here. I think many of the IUCAA family members have seen them. here. I think a significant part of their life, they grew up here. I think Titus is going to go next, or Tim, who is going to go next?
I can go next if that's okay.
Go ahead, yeah.
I just like to echo my dad's comments. IUCAA definitely brought out the best in my mother. The leadership team at IUCAA gave my mom an opportunity to thrive. And IUCAA didn't just become a place where she worked, but it was a second family to her. On the personal front, we did get to enjoy some of the beautiful infrastructure in IUCAA, the beautiful library, the beautiful computer center that my mother was associated with. But we just want to give a quick shout out to the team for just making her entire journey in IUCAA very pleasant. So those were the best years of her life professionally. And we just give a big thanks from the entire family to the team at IUCAA for making her journey such a pleasurable time. And she really, truly benefited from the colleagues, the friends, the camaraderie at IUCAA. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah. Okay.
I think my brother is going to go next. He's in a different room, so you might just have to.
Yeah, I would send him an unmute request. Yeah, go ahead.
So thank you for setting this up. So like Professor Ajit had said, I remember, so the computer center was basically like a second home sometimes. So Amma used to bring me to the computer center during vacations to, make sure I studied or something like that. Whether it worked is another thing. But yeah, I remember seeing, as Ajit had mentioned, like how the computer center went from having Sun computers initially, then slowly having newer machines. And some of those machines used to trickle down into our house also. And it used to be very helpful for me because I used to love gaming on those computers. And I really, the kind of relationship she had with people like Yogesh and Sagar, and I forget the other two people who she used to be very close to in the computer center. They were like almost like family to us whenever I used to come over. So yeah, it was a very good experience. When I used to come and visit her, it's like I should just walk into the computer center like I own the place, in a way. One of the funny things that I'll kind of say is like the security used to always call her Sahara ma'am. It's not never Sarah. I remember like once I came up to the gate and I'm like, I want to meet Sarah Ponrathnam. They're like, कौन? Sarah Ponrathnam. Sahara ma'am. यहाँ सारा नाम का कोई फिरंगी नहीं है. यहाँ सहारा मैम है. And I'm like, अब मेरी मम्मी का नाम मुझे बताएंगे. And I picked up the phone from the guy and like dialed her extension and I'm like, please speak to her. So yeah, it was one of those fun experiences that I've had. And after that, I never really had issues like walking into the institute. Another thing that someone mentioned that she used to always keep up to date with the field. One of the things that I vividly remember of Amma at night, she used to spend almost like the whole period after dinner to her sleeping. She would basically be reading these O'Reilly books. So SQL, then not sure what other ones, but I definitely remember her reading SQL and a few other O'Reilly books. So it's like pretty familiar with the whole set of books because just her sitting and reading them at night. One of her funny intricacies. There's also another funny incident I want to say before I come to her hate for cats. So there's one day, so she used to keep bringing me, to the library to sit after my vacation so that I prepare for the next exam and next class and whatever. So one day, I used to open the gate, the staff parking lot, and then she would go a little past the gate and then I would close the gate. One day she was so busy, like in her own thoughts, I guess. I opened the gate and she just drove off. And the security guard and I are exchanging glances like, what just happened? So she had basically abandoned me at the staff parking lot gate. And then I had to call my brother to come from college to pick me up. And when we were driving back, we passed Amma and she was really, as some of her colleagues have mentioned, she can really get upset. So she was super upset about the fact that I had abandoned her, apparently. And it's only when we reached home and she started shouting at me that I said, "You left me at the gate. I opened the security gate for you and you drove off." And then the awkward smile on her face. It's like one of those funny memories that I guess I'm going to always have in my mind about her. Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that she loved gardening. We were joking, my brother and I, that she loved her plants more than us. And that extended to her love to defend her plants from all the cats in the IUCAA staff quarters. I remember the cage, so she basically, you have these wire meshes which you get for chicken coops. So she had lined the whole small garden plot in front of the kitchen with these chicken coop fence wire fences, keep cats out, because those cats used to come and damage or destroy her precious plants. Never worked, but not for a lack of trying, to be frank. Yeah, I guess those are more or less the nice experiences that we had with her. And it's pretty shocking that she just left us so soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Titus, for sharing these memories. Anyone else from the family who would like to share their thoughts about Sarah? I mean, you can raise your Zoom hand and we will unmute you. I can see Malik Kumar. I think maybe you are trying to raise your hand, then I can unmute you. I think maybe we tried. Mr. Malik Kumar?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay, please go ahead.
See, I am proud to say that I'm also a extended family of Ponrathnams. In fact, I'm from Pune only, and we used to go to the same church, the St. Paul's Church, for so many years. And that time, Timothy and Titus were school-going kids. So in the church, after the service is over, we all used to get together for a fellowship cup of tea. And that is the time then people used to meet each other and exchange ideas, and not ideas exactly, exchange about their children and how they're doing. And Sarah is one person who will go around and talk to everybody and ask about everybody, what their children are doing, what they should do in her opinion. And she used to have a very good, and people can know that she is there because of her laughter. She'll make the whole place. We are more than 100, 150 in that group taking tea, but you can know that Sarah is there making everybody else laugh. And once I remember when Dr. Ponrathnam's mummy came to stay with her at that campus, they invited us to their home. We went, and while talking, then we came to know through her mother that her family and my wife's family were somehow connected, because they were in Delhi for some time, my wife's parents and Mr. Ponrathnam's family also. And in the course of such thing, once we invited them home, they came home and we were having a good time. And she's vivacious. I mean, you cannot stop her childlike curiosity and joy that she brings about in that gathering. I remember that same time when they had come home for dinner or lunch, I don't remember. There was one dish that was cooked, and from the kadai it was transferred to the serving bowl on the dining table. And I was about to put that kadai in the kitchen sink. And then Sarah said, "Malik, what are you doing? Give it to me." Then she asked my mother, my wife, Sujata, "Give me some white rice." This is how my mother used to give me. She put some handful of white rice in that kadai, gave it a good mix and said, "Malik, you should eat this like this. That is where the taste is. You don't throw it like this." And then I remembered, this is the same thing my mother used to, and my brothers and sisters. For my mother used to do it. Whenever she cooks the dish, that rice goes and we all go and stand in line for one mouthful of that dish. And recently, just about a month back, Sarah called me because I'm retired, I'm staying at home. My wife is working. She knows that I'm alone at home. She called me and asked me, how am I doing? How are people at home, my daughter, my son? She asked about everybody and never for once mentioned that she's going through such a pain herself. And she was telling me that she had come once in between in the month of August or September to make sure that Titus is prepared and is on his way to US after finishing his doctorate. And she is so proud of her two boys and she deserves. And I mean, she has brought them up like great kids and hats off to her. And I have a cousin who stays in Tuticorin. And she and Sarah were classmates from the school days. Just 2 days back in the memorial service that we had online, she spoke about Sarah, and all of you talked, colleagues, about her competency in the job she did. But the real person behind her success is herself only. She's so determined. She's so straightforward, so she cannot tolerate, what should I say, incompetence or corruption. And this is our topic, used to be in politics or something. And she can never, ever tolerate that. I'm going to miss her so much. And in passing, just I want to read a poem which goes like this. Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day, unseen, unheard, but always near, still loved, still missed, and very dear. Farewell, my friend Sarah. Miss you. My deep condolences to the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. And I don't see any other hands up here. Thanks everyone for joining us. We all had our own pieces of memory, but that you everyone shared their own thoughts will stay with us for a much longer time, and we will treasure this for a long time. The poem you said actually summarized it very well. And okay, what to say? We will remember Sarah forever, and we stop here.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sanjeev, for doing this so nicely. And our collective condolences to the family, to Surendra, and to the boys and everybody. And thank you very much, everybody, for sharing your thoughts with us. Sarah, we will miss Sarah, and she will remember that she will be with us forever. Bye for now.